everyone, thanks so much for joining us on our afternoon boba coffee tea series. Hope you're doing really well, and thank you so much for joining. Today we're going to talk all about what it means to grow up as a mixed race person in the SF Bay Area. So I've talked a lot about this issue in general, and it's been a really interesting journey for me, I think. I've always been like a positive, glass half full kind of person, and so I think that sort of colors my experience of being a mixed race individual. I do think there are still a lot of challenges that definitely need to be addressed in terms of not just who I am as an identity for myself, but more so how like society treats race. And so I think it's such a prevalent issue because, you know, everyone always asks me growing up, what are you and what is your background? And, you know, fundamentally, like I mentioned, a glass half full, very positive person who really appreciated being mixed race. But I remember asking my parents when I was younger, like, is it, you know, why do people always ask me about race, like, or what I am, and why are people so curious? But it's probably because I have a very unique face. Nobody, you know, people try and understand, like, where you're from or how do you, and so people are just inherently curious human beings. But my parents' response was really interesting too, because they said, oh, well, race doesn't matter anymore. And I was like, yeah, that's great, you know, that's fantastic. That would be like the perfect ideal universe. But in reality, obviously, race is still very much a pressing issue with recently, like what we saw with Black Lives Matter. There's just so much inherent discrimination and institutionalized racism in our country, especially in America, where we always kind of identify people as either Asian American, Hispanic, Black, Native American, versus like just saying that we're all American, right? Fundamentally, if we're born and raised here, we're American by the Constitution. And so, and we're really grateful to all of the immigrants that have joined us, right, in this wonderful country where you can make your dreams a reality and, you know, build nothing to something amazing and something great. We've seen so many countless examples of that. Like even the Google founders are not from here, right? They're immigrants. And so just so many clear examples of, yeah. And then when you leave the country in the US, you're also considered American. They don't say like, you're Asian, right? They say, I'm Asian American. They just say that, oh, you're American by the way that you talk, the way that you dress, the way that you carry yourself, all of these things. So to the outside world, we're always seen as American, but in America, we're always seen as like, kind of like this other category, right? And luckily, interracial marriages are becoming more and more common. There's like a really interesting history of the US where actually a lot of interracial marriages were by law not possible. So even in California, Chinese could not marry American women generally. They weren't allowed to have white and Asian marriages in the early like 1900s when there's a gold mine rush and a lot of Chinese people were coming here to build railroads and stuff like that. There's just a lot of inherent discrimination against Chinese people. But obviously, as we know, like Black people have probably had the worst and the most significant brunt of this. But the races, you know, since slaves were taken here, have been intermingling and mixing, for better or for worse, actually. Sometimes it wasn't for good reasons, right, at all. But and same with Native Americans and white people, that mix, right, has been happening for generations and centuries, you know, decades, like so many times. And so even when I lived in a Native American Athabascan community, they actually thought that I looked like them because people are so mixed, right? I mean, there's still some people who are more like pure Native American, but generally the vast majority are more mixed, generally with white people, but also Black people. And so there's been you know, I mean, I think since the start of humanity, people have been mixing, but I guess the rules that we've created have not allowed people to mix races more naturally, I guess. You know, we have a lot of societal restrictions against changing your gender or, you know, changing your sexuality or being true to your sexuality is how I really should say it, because I fundamentally believe that sexuality is not a choice. It's what you're born with. And same with gender. I don't think that's a choice either per se. Like people really do fundamentally believe that they weren't assigned the proper gender, or that they're non-binary, they'd rather not be part of these like gender binary. So welcome to the San Francisco Bay Area of hippie knowledge. You know, I was born and raised here, so definitely, you know, very big hippie. I'm not as big of a hippie as maybe others, but I definitely like the open-mindedness, the ability to really express who we are as human beings. And I think that's the major benefit of living here and growing up in San Francisco Bay Area in general, is that I grew up with so many mixed friends. So I saw some high school friends this weekend. One is Taiwanese and African and white and Native American. Another couple folks were Filipino, and Filipinos tend to be quite mixed actually, ethnically. And then one was a Caucasian guy. My husband was there, he's Chinese. So yeah, there's just a lot of diversity. So you're growing up with people who are also mixed race. I think some of our closest friends in high school, even though they didn't show up necessarily this past weekend, were like Spanish and white. One of my best friends is Mexican and white. Another one was Chinese and white. There's just like so many people that you just, yeah, even without trying, you like interact with people who are very different from you, or who are also similar in that sense of being mixed race. So I absolutely loved it, and I'm so grateful for the experience. I'm sorry, just checking the time to make sure I don't go too long, but if you have any more questions, please let me know, write the comments, and just let me know what you'd like to hear. Thank you so much for watching, really appreciate it, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, bye.